Hey, what's up guys, BenzoFigures here, and today I'll be taking a look at my Marvel vs. Capcom figure collection, and what I used to compile this together. Let me know in the comments below, who's your Marvel vs. Capcom 1 team? With that being said, let's begin. So up first we have the First Lady of Fighting, Chun-Li. And you can probably already tell, for Chun-Li, I added the Jada toys for my Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Last year I had these Jada toys as one of my top favorite figures of 2023, so it's not surprising that they are here. I do have the SH Figuarts Chun-Li, but personally, I think the Jada toys Chun-Li scales better with the Marvel Legends. Up next, Hiryu. Since I had the Jada Toys Chun-Li, it should be no surprise to see the Jada Toys Hiryu here as well. I have a few different Hiryu figures, but I feel like this one in particular suits the collection the best. The NECA one is cool, but it's huge and Hiryu looks really beefy. I think the Storm Collectibles Hiryu is probably the best Hiryu out there, but much like the NECA one, it doesn't really scale with my Marvel Legends too well. Maybe if I had used Marvel Selects over Legends, I definitely would have used the Storm Collectibles, but that's not the case here. So I know I just ranted about not being able to use a Storm Collectibles Hiryu because of the size, but Zangief is freakishly large anyway. Plus, because of the MDC Origins artwork of Zangief vs. Hulk, I figure I would make an exception having a Storm Collectible figure for my 1/12 scale collection. I know that this figure has the alt color blue instead of the traditional red. I got this figure when I visited LA many years ago at an anime shop. They were advertising like 20% off of Storm Collectible figures, but on the floor there wasn't any. When I asked one of the workers there, they only had the Zangief in the back room, so not too bad grabbing a Zangief figure for 80 bucks. Nowadays it's probably cheaper and easier to find Zangief, but that wasn't really the case when I got him like 5 years ago. Up next is Morrigan. I'm actually in the middle of redoing this figure, but for now, this will do. It's made from Enchantress and Gwen parts. So the plan for this figure is to update the head sculpt with something else, redo and update the base, and also gotta add in the back wings and redo the paint apps. Lots of work needs to be done for this Morrigan, so this is a bit of a placeholder for now. But I don't think it's too terrible. People can see it from afar and know who the character is, so that's good enough for now. Until I update it. Next up we got Mr. Capcom himself, Captain Commando. I remember seeing 52 Toys announcing that they were making a Captain Commando figure a little while back, and when I first saw it, I was super stoked to finally get a Captain Commando figure. But when I read the details and found out that it was like 3.75 or 1/18th scale, I was instantly disappointed. Nothing wrong with the 1/18th scale, but most of my collection is Marvel Legends sized. But yeah, after hearing the bad news, I grabbed a Sentry figure and just started sculpting and pretty much made this from scratch. The head sculpt is from Kaiser Cohen, so shoutouts to him, and the hands are from a Dr. Octopus figure. Up next we got the other Capcom mascot, Mega Man. So for a while now, I had this Nendroid Mega Man fill in for the longest time. I know there's better Mega Man figures out there, like the Sentinel Mega Man figure, but have you seen those prices? They're like 150 bucks each, like minimum. So when Jada Toys finally shipped this Mega Man, I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, this figure is probably not as good as the Sentinel one, but definitely way more affordable, and it looks and functions great still, so. Next is Strider Hiryu. Much like everyone else, I knew nothing about Strider when I first saw him in MDC 1. But the character and character design is so cool, I was instantly a fan. So full disclaimer, I did not make this figure, but from what I can tell, it's made from a Ninja Slayer figure by Figma. And I added the spiky hair to the figure, but it remains mostly untouched as the design is supposed to be a mix of the classic and the 2014 version of Strider. I do have future plans on making Strider myself and make it a little bit more faithful to the MDC design, so stay tuned for that future video. Much like Strider, I didn't know anything about Jin when I first played him, but this dude was super fun to play as. Like all of his heavy buttons were pretty much a special move. I made this Gen figure with some G.I. Joe figures and a spare angry Ryu head I had. I'll probably update the head sculpt down the road so it doesn't look like Ryu. I've seen people use the old Soda Ryu for their Gen customs, but these days, Soda Street Fighter figures are so hard to come by that it would feel pretty wrong to break one apart just for a single custom figure. Looking at this now, it needs a little bit more work, like adding pockets, a different head, but overall, I still dig it. Now for the Marvel side. I didn't do any mods or customs for the Marvel side, since Marvel Legends is pretty decent at releasing their characters. I'll just be going over what figures I use for display in my collection, and my thoughts on it. Starting on the Marvel side, Spider-Man. So this is a placeholder. I'm using this Ultimate Spider-Man figure, and I know that Ultimate Spider-Man is a bit too small for this collection. I will definitely be replacing this with either a Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, since that's the best Peter figure, or if I could get my hands on a Peter Spider-Man. I think that would also be perfect. So, guys, let me know in the comments, what Spider-Man should I use? So, this Captain America is from the first Build-A-Figure wave I've ever completed, Onslaught. I remember a long time ago when I was a casual collector, seeing this entire wave at a Toys R Us. This made me instantly buy it because it was Onslaught. Granted, it was a Red Skull as Onslaught, but still. Luckily we got an Onslaught Magneto looking helmet down the road, but yeah. Anyways, my Captain America was from that wave, and even though it's not the best cap out there, I still think it looks pretty good on display. So there's a lot of Venom figures, and usually I don't mix MCU figures with comic book figures, but this MCU Venom figure is probably my favorite out of all Venoms. He should be blue, but I do like the size and silhouette of this figure. He's large in size compared to a lot of his comic figure counterparts, well, other than Monster Venom, and he still retains the spider symbol. But yeah, even though it's on the MCU Venom mold, this is from the Null Venom 2-pack that came out a couple years back. This is probably the only Marvel Select figure I own, but this is probably the best one ever made too. The Immortal Hulk figure. So while picking out which Hulk figure I wanted for the collection, ultimately it was a toss-up between the Immortal Hulk or the Marvel Legends 2-pack with Wolverine. I was leaning more towards the Marvel Legends 2-pack Hulk, since I mostly collect Marvel Legends anyway. However, at the time, and probably even now, the 2-pack Hulk costs like almost double than the Marvel Select Hulk. So a $60 Hulk figure versus a $30 Hulk figure that had better paint, sculpt, larger in size, yeah, it was no brainer why I went with the Marvel Select Hulk in my collection. Gambit and Strider was my team back in MVC1. Even though he played a little weird and he was a charged character, he kind of played like Vega but with projectiles. But yeah, so this is the old retro Gambit figure, the one before the X-Men 97 one. I found this at a con a few years back for retail price, so I jumped at it since it's still like over 40 bucks these days. The new X-Men 97 Gambit looks really good, and I'll probably update this figure, but I don't know. I still think this one still holds up, so yep. No lie, it's a little weird to see a Marvel roster that has War Machine over Iron Man. Anyways, this War Machine was from the Retro series. I know that there's a War Machine figure out there that's more accurate to MVC, but not gonna lie, I really like the shoulder cannons on this figure. War Machine should always have shoulder cannons on. It gives the character a different silhouette compared to Iron Man, and they're just a cool design anyway. It distinguishes him from Iron Man as Rhodey uses more missiles and bullets, while Iron Man uses laser beams. It also helps the fact that I found this at Ross for like 8 bucks, so $8 War Machine figure is unbeatable. Lastly, wrapping it up with the Wolverine. Shoutouts to my bro who went to a comic book store, found the Lover's Quarrel 3-pack with Jean, Cyclops, and Wolvie, and bought it for me. Even though I thought it was expensive at the time, it was like retail price at the time. The Wolverine in this 3-pack is still my favorite Wolverine figure that Marvel Legends has made so far. I don't see myself replacing this for a very long time. I don't know what else to say, but that this is the perfect Wolverine figure and goes great with my Capcom figures as well. So guys, that will wrap it up for my Marvel vs. Capcom 1 collection. Let me know if you want to see more Marvel vs. Capcom figures, and who your team is. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.